All right, in our exterior portion, we just like to go around and highlight some things. One thing I just want to point out that I noticed while I was doing the underside and stuff, those are fake dips. Your exhaust is actually coming out underneath the car, and you'll see that on the undercarriage part, but nothing comes out of those. Those are not real. There's a little J pipe that's just down behind it, so you can see all the exhaust and moisture right there below. Tires and everything are in really, really good shape. Body's in great shape. There are some like really, really light scuffs, like you'll see right here, just at the edge of my finger. It kind of catches your nail a little bit, but they're very, very minimal scuffs, if anything, on this car. One here on the hood, right? But with a good buff, these will come out. Like, none of them catch your nail or anything like that. Front wheels have some scuffs. You can kind of see where it kind of like marred over a little bit. They're not really bad. They're really not noticeable unless you take your finger to it. Someone touched them up at some point, I believe. But trim and everything's really, really good. This does have a full glass top sunroof. I have it open right now just to show it works. And then just one button, it closes itself all the way. And then there is a shade that'll cover the whole length of that. And then the other thing, ask them about this piece. Normally there's a little plastic cover that hides this. This tells me the car was dead. So they had to use this, pop it off, put the manual secret key in, unlock the door, pop the hood, and jump start it. So this is gonna be the source of your low voltage, I'm telling you. But there's some other codes in there that were concerning that I told you about. Overall, good shape. It could be cleaned up a bit. It's been pretty grimy around here for weather-wise. Snow, rain, and then hot, cold, cold, hot, cold. It's weird. Glass is all in good shape. Still original. There is a signature on here, which I thought was really cool. Not sure why. It's probably a Mercedes thing. But that's gonna be your exterior. All right, we are onto the engine bay. It is a lot of plastics. All right, so basically everything's just covered up by this little guy. It comes right off. We try not to disassemble these cars at all while we're working on them. We don't want people to think we're just tearing into these. I mean, crash rails and everything are really up in your face, so it looks good. Doesn't look like any of these bolts have ever been turned or touched. I did make a note. This is what's covering, like this is your jump pack area. See how it's open, and it was broken. So something just to note. I think that's the source of like why you had so many low voltages. This thing had to be jump started at some point. Let you listen. So that ticking sound on these, on modern engines, it's a direct injection. You want to hear your injectors pulse firing. Usually if you like rev it up and then let off, you'll hear that cut out for a moment while it decells. That's normal operation. That's good. That's what we like. Very clean engine bay, really low miles, so it's not a lot of people have been in this just yet. Just really dusty. So looking down in here, this is your frame rails. All the sealers and stuff are there. Hoses and everything look really good. Belt's way down in there. You only got like 3 pulleys on this bad boy. Two or three. And then exhaust is all down the side. These have the turbo and everything sitting right up on top. And then this will actually be an intercooler up in here as well. So it's all just right there now. Thing drives really good. It's very quiet. Gets up and going well. Plenty of performance on this, but I believe this is just like a cruiser. The way it drives is very nice, very soft. It does have several settings for that, but it's a very good drive. All right, so the undercarriage is going to be a little funny because there's so much of it is covered. I start at the fronts. I always like to look front to back. Just shows us if there's anything hanging down, sagging, or loose. Looks really good. You can also look at the plastics because if there's any oil leaks or any kind of leaking, it'll show wet and saturated on those plastics. They just stay shiny, and you can usually see it going back, which we have none of that, so it's really good. Even this lower bumper portion doesn't have any scuffs or beat up, so that's really good. I like to see that. We're gonna go to each corner area along the sides and show the lift points, and then go from there. All right, so this is driver front corner, lift point area in really good shape. Like I said, lots of plastic coverings. This is gonna be up in that wheel well, really good shape. Plastics are all there, nothing's chewed up. And then along here, all your trim is still there, covering everything. And then at the lift point back here, you can see some damage next to that one. So they probably just didn't lift in the right spot, and that was probably a loud crack. I don't know. I would say something that's most likely where your fuel tank is under there. Obviously the skid plate and the shield is in really good shape, but that's a newer brake. It doesn't really look like there's a lot of aging in the plastics here. And then we're gonna go to the rear so you can get a good view on that rear end. All right, so big old muffler, like I was saying, it just has these turn down so it doesn't actually come out those tips. And then your rear end here, all in really good shape. Exhaust is also in really good shape. Very good. All right, so we are on to the passenger side. So you can see this lift point's in a lot better shape, not all beat up like the other side. And then going along here, plastics are still good. And then the front one looks good. Ooh, got a little brake on that. I didn't notice that one before. A little breakage there. And all in good shape. So it's just these plastics. That one's got a few cracks here. So might want to bring that one up to them as well, just to say, hey, I don't know if it was from the lift on this one. It's hard to say because like this is right next to the lift point, but that's way over here. That could have been like a curb or something. All right, so message is currently up that I wanted to catch. I did disconnect something. It was my OBD. So engine oil level, and it says reduce oil level. This has like an electronic measuring system. So as you see here in idle, it's measuring your oil level. I feel like that means it's overfilled. I'm not sure. Maybe it's, I mean, it's definitely upset about the oil level. It's not correct. So something to touch or bring up. Definitely mention before you take off. I always start here at the steering wheel. Leather's in really good shape. Obviously it's a really low mileage, newer car. This does have pretty much every option on here. So back here you do have paddle shifts down and up. This has your cruise and assist, and then menu for this screen, menu for this screen, and then all your phone controls and volume. And then you also have the controls here for this screen. And then this is like just like a hold on to type thing. I'm not sure. It doesn't actually move or do anything. Your shifter's here, so I think it's just kind of to rest while you use this. This does have the air suspension, so up and down. Right now I have it lowered for getting in and out because I'm getting in and out a lot. And then auto climate, all of it works really well. And then as far as door card, I'll show you, each door has these controls for the seats, even the back seats. So front seats have heated and air conditioned, and then you have memory seats on this one as well. This is going to be your lift gate height controls. Now fog light is going to be for the rear on these European cars. They don't have a front facing fog. And then that closes, you tap, opens, and then these two buttons, boom, you got full cup holders. This is a wireless charger with ports as well. And then pop this guy. Sorry, that's your cigarette lighter. This does have the 360 camera. Right now it's yelling at us because I have the rear lift gate open, but it gives you a whole around view. And then these lines will actually move to the shape of whatever's getting close to you, so it'll kind of like adaptively tell you how close you're getting to something. Park is push in on the end of the stock. And then like I said, this is how you lower for getting in and out. These are all your vehicle settings. So like the wheel controls, it does try to keep you in your lanes with all these active. For me, I'm a really light, I don't hold onto the wheel very hard, and it just kept saying I wasn't holding the wheel even when I had two hands on it. So if you're a light-handed driver, keep that in mind. I'm gonna pause here, and then I'm gonna go from the outside in, just blow all this up. All right, so a couple things I noted, like these little scuffs on the door card. It's about as worse as it gets on this one. There's another one on the other side that has some, but really pretty good shape. The mats could use some love. If I was you, I would do some like good all-weather. Carpets are in really good shape otherwise. Seat tracks even still have the grease in there. This thing's so new. So back seat, like I said, you still have all of the controls here. And then on these, there's a button. I'm going to show you once I get to that side, but there's a button to fold all this down. I have my seat where I had it, so it's upset about that. It does move this seat out of the way to get this at least enough to let someone in. Climate controls there. Pause here, we'll go to the other side. All right, so we're on the other side. This is where the other scuff was on this door here. Seats are in great shape, so you pull this, and this is all power. Like, I have stopped touching it at this point. Pretty wild. Kind of slow, but like, I mean, you don't have people smashing stuff into you. This does have seats back here with cables, cup holders, headrests. There's switches here, but when I do the trunk portion, I'm going to show you these will auto fold, and then they also fold up like that automatically. And then this, I'm not sure if I'm just doing it wrong, but you hold the button down here and it goes right back to position. I'm going to pause and then I'll move to the front. All right, we are on the passenger front door. So cooled and heated seats, plenty of controls. Like I said, floor mats, seats are in great shape. Bolsters are really nice. There's no wrinkling or anything in this. This thing wasn't sat in very much. Still have your owner's manual and everything in here. And yes, this does have the cool lines there on the door. All right, we're to the trunk portion. I feel like I might have got cut off on the interior part there. Sorry about that. There's just a lot to cover on this bad boy. So power lift gate here. And then there's the switches here. Push those. And then these will fold down, so you have more cargo. And then this, I think you can move to those front pockets here. I don't really know how to mess with that, if they have to be pushed out or how that works. I didn't want to mess with it too much. And then this will actually do all of the seats. I think that includes the middle row. This does have a full height spare, not width or anything like that. And then wheel lug nuts and all that stuff are there. And then your front plate mount, if your state requires that. First aid kit in here. And then I believe this is for like the level of the car when you're loading it. Right now I have it at the lowest, so I love that. And then power lift gate, it's really quick compared to other lift gates. Closes very nice, no issues. I like that. And then I'm gonna open this again real quick. There is this one scuff here. Should like the head under the seam here. So just want to point that out while I'm back here. And we're gonna keep moving. All right, right at this point, we do our code scan of the vehicle. Try to get my hand out of here. Down here, I always like to make sure this VIN matches the one tagged to the vehicle. Just shows that it's the computer that was originally set to this VIN, right? Something just to check, especially like now's today's and age, they're putting cars back together pretty well. So we do have a few faults in here. I did note there was a couple that were a little bit concerning. The first one, transmission, it had a internal control unit fault that it stored. Brakes had a caliper malfunction that they stored. A lot of these are all voltage, like low voltage, lost communications due to voltage. They're all just basically like the electrical stuff down here. Everything was working as I was using the vehicle. Like I said, all these codes are stored. A lot of times if you don't have the right tools, you can't just clear them out. Yeah, your check engine light goes away, but the vehicle is going to keep the information if you don't have a tool that actually goes through and takes care of them. Like I said, I noted the couple that I thought were actually important. The rest of these are going to be voltage related. So without getting hung up here, we're going to keep moving on to our monitors. All right, so these are going to be our monitors. These are all going to be what your vehicle is doing while you're driving, a series of system checks. All of these have to be within a certain parameter or within a certain measurement number range, right? So green checks all the way through. It's always good. That's what we like. We want to see that. It means that it was able to get through all of its processes while we were driving the vehicle. If you have the gray circles here with the line through it, typically on modern cars, they're gonna overlap, right? So like your oxygen heater monitoring and your secondary air system and the heated catalyst, those can all be related in one unit now, right? So there'll be overlapped essentially, so you don't have so many redundancies, and that's why like there is so much. And then these vehicles, there was also a diesel option, so a lot of these are not going to apply like the nitrous measurements and all that kind of stuff. You don't produce that being a gasoline vehicle, so some of those don't even apply to the car. So really good here, nothing to worry about. We're going to keep moving here. All right, I'm going to move on to the conclusions here. I always like to light it up, make it look really nice for you guys, make it look alive. Right now I have it airing up so you can kind of see how high it gets. Right before this moment, it was always on the entry lower portion, still going up. So I'm actually impressed at how tall this gets. All right, a few things just to highlight again on this. When we were on our drive, a little bit of pulsation in the brakes, and it's a little bit twitchy on left to right, kind of like the toe needs to be adjusted, I believe. Just get the alignment checked, make sure. I know these bigger SUVs can be top heavy, so it's just maybe me being sensitive to it, but definitely worth getting checked out. The tires are really fresh, so let's not let them get worn weird. Once they wear weird, it's hard from there. Not really anything for damage on the vehicle, in pretty good shape overall. We did find some of the skid plates underneath had some cracking in them, so keep an eye on that. They're not loose or hanging down at all, but those cracks can only get worse, I believe, especially if you're in like a dirt road area or a lot of debris or high speeds. Now when we did our code scan, we did have a lot of low voltage codes. As you saw when I had the engine bay portion, they had the jump box, like where you jump start the car ports, they were open. They did have that panel broken under there, so please need to believe this had been jump started recently. There is a couple codes. One was for the transmission, had an internal control unit issue. Definitely get something looking at that. And brakes had a malfunction. Now with the vibration on the test drive, I definitely would ask about that, just kind of get clarity on what to expect. Overall, everything here is working as it should. This thing's pretty loaded overall. Really good shape. Paint's pretty good. I did note the light scratches can be taken out with like a good buff and cut. Okay, it's all the way at its height out here too. So that's pretty tall. I'm about 6 foot, and that's not the top of my head. So that's over the top of my head. That's pretty good. Definitely getting through some stuff there. I like that. We're gonna stop here. Overall, very low mileage, very clean car. Just a couple things to note as far as skid plate and what's going on with those modules.